Hey, so today we're going to talk about our little Halloween adventure, going to the beach and the aftermath of eating all of that candy from the kids. Plus, we're going to talk about a faith journey that I've been struggling with this past week. We're going to do a little room tour of our little apartment. We're going to talk about the Polynesian Cultural Center that we visited on Oahu. And we're going to talk about some of the things that we've been struggling with as parents today on Our Daily Faith.
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween! Halloween!
So Halloween has typically more been something that you enjoy doing with the kids, and we typically haven't done trick-or-treating, so we were looking for something to do in the local area, and we found a kids event at a local church, so we decided to check it out.
These are wings. See a smash is a flip. There we go.
Oh, don't go in.
Superman.
Hey Maddox, what are you going there for Halloween next?
My costume is red fire ninja.
Red Ninja, whoa!
Red fire ninja.
Red Fire Ninja.
I could save today.
So after Halloween, like the kids, it's the one day that we give them a bunch of candy and it completely went into their systems. We had a really tough time the next day with a lot of meltdowns and them not listening, and then this happened.
And then we will have a car because Grampy and Lola will be driving us all over and you won't see us ever again. I will stay there till you are kind again. Why do you hate us? Why do you want to kill us? Why do you don't love us? Why do you hate us? Why don't you kill us? Escapable death! Yeah, that's funny.
So not our finest parenting moment or finest moment as a family, but it's real. And do you know what? Normally we start our brains go into a state of emergency, start kind of freaking out at what the kids are saying, but this time was different, and we actually were in the front seat looking at each other, kind of trying not to laugh out loud. Because I had read some parenting tips about letting kids get all of their feelings out as long as they're not hurting anything or anyone. And the things that they were saying would only hurt us, and we weren't feeling hurt. We were just letting them vent. And at the end of it, they were just like, I'm so sorry. I said those things. I love you so much. I love you too. Okay, what's next on the list?
And we did get to visit a beautiful beach yesterday, right before all of that happened. It was beautiful, it was stunning.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there was a sign that said public beach access and you can get to it with a stroller and a wheelchair, but it wasn't quite the case.
Fluffy buddy.
Well, it said beach access.
How is this wheelchair access?
I'll show you the...
Yeah, I don't see an entrance to the beach from here. Unless you want to walk through gravel and rocks and somehow scale like a 5-foot wall. So, after all this way, finally came to beach access, but that's pretty narrow for a stroller to fit through. Well, at least I'm getting a lot of steps in. Sadly said there might be one across the soccer field. It's just behind me back there. I think I found one that's a little bit closer.
Snack break! Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to love me. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. They're lovely. Oh,
Those are celebration cakes.
they're Snap Pea Crisps.
I don't want the rest of them.
This is the wheelchair accessibility. So we had a really hard time figuring out where the entrance was. And then finally we found the entrance, and it was a sign that said public access to the beach. And it said that strollers and wheelchairs could get through. Well, Phil didn't think that there was an opening in the fence for the soccer field. He was worried about that. And so we went down the embankment instead. That was a big mistake. That was really hard to get through. And there was an entrance to the gate. So we could have just gone along this like flat grassy ground instead of through rocks and leaves and litter, and yeah, that was not fun. Anyway, but the beach was gorgeous, absolutely beautiful, and a nice sandy area for the kids to play in. There were rocks that protected this little kind of pool area from big crashing waves, and so the water was nice and calm and safe for the kids.
And Caleb went snorkeling, which was so awesome.
And so we ordered this cute little wetsuit for him because he gets cold and he gets like blue lips every time he's in the water. So we got this really cute wetsuit from Billabong because they actually make them in kids sizes, and it fits him so well, and he was so thrilled. And so it was the first time that he didn't get cold whenever he was going in the water, so he stayed in for a long time and tried the snorkeling.
It was so cute.
It was really awesome.
Look at this.
Right where you are. Just right where your hands were, Mommy. There's a crab now. It's just crawling on the inside of this.
I'm on top of the wall. Catch this.
Turtle there. That was the first turtle we've seen since we came.
Yeah. Thanks, Billabong, for such an amazing wetsuit.
Yeah.
So, So this week, I was not in the best mood, especially over the weekend. I was struggling a lot and kind of taking it out on everybody. I was a big grouchy bear. It was not very good. It was not fun. I think a big part of it was, there's all this change happening, and we read this book called The Power of a Parent's Blessing, and in it, one of the things that the author talked about, which really spoke to me, was that Satan often attacks the protectors of the family, the mom and the dad. And in my case, I felt very much like he was attacking me personally. Like, we went to church, I was so grumpy and grouchy and feeling really homesick. I don't tend to do that very often. I tend to be one who's, really enjoys getting out and traveling and doing a whole bunch of stuff. I don't get homesick a whole lot, and I was feeling super homesick. I just wanted to go home. I was so distraught about everything around us. There was a lot of very particular issues. Very small things, like so stressed out about the fog that comes from the volcano, and if I kept my family here, then I would be poisoning my family.
There are some real issues, but you felt that the attack was magnifying those issues and making them feel insurmountable, and also overgeneralizing them, like the fog, like, I'm going to be poisoning. Like, that's quite overdramatic, right?
Yeah.
God wants us here, he'll protect us.
And I liked how you did that, so I'm going to keep all of that. So I was really overgeneralizing and stressing about everything. And it was a really big struggle for me. I just wanted to go home, and that's not like me. I knew that God had us here for a reason, but any of my reasoning in my head was just, it wasn't there. Like, everything seemed magnified. So we went to church. Adelie prayed over me, prayed for myself. And then the pastor said something that really struck a chord in me. He said, it was from a quote from Corrie.
Was it Corrie ten Boom?
Yeah. And she's someone who survived a concentration camp during World War II. And one of the things that she had said was that when we look outside ourselves, we get distressed. When we look inside ourselves, we get depressed. But when we look at Jesus, we find rest. That was an amazing quote. I felt like I had lost my connection to God. I felt isolated, and by praying and by seeking Him, I felt all of those things that felt insurmountable melt away. Like, none of that mattered. I found my strength again. Not really my strength, His strength. It completely drained my energy. I mean, the rest of the day I was still struggling a lot. Not so much the same way that I was in the morning, but just because my batteries had been drained so much. And while after church my batteries stopped being drained, it was still low and I needed to recharge. So that night I ended up listening to this sermon from Tim Mackey from the podcast My Strange Bible, I think it's called. He's the same guy who created the Bible Project, and he talked about how Jesus would go into the wilderness to be by himself and focus on God. That it's really important for us to do that, to get away, to isolate ourselves. He said going into the wilderness isn't about going into the woods. It's about going somewhere where no one else is and focusing on Him, focusing on God. And so after being able to do that, I kind of recentered myself and found that passion and that drive and the reasoning why we were here again. And I found God's voice again.
And what I just found interesting, what you just said, was the quote from Corrie ten Boom. The last part of it was, and you find rest. And then you signed up for Leader Box program, and one of the very first books that you received is titled Rest.
Mm-hmm. And that's the very first book that I'm supposed to read too.
And that is something that you really feel God is calling you to do, and to learn more about rest, because you have worked really hard for countless years. Since we got married, you really started digging in and took your role as, providing for the family very, very seriously.
I've always, as an entrepreneur, I always feel like this hustle and this go, and the whole Gary Vaynerchuk, go, 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 hustle. You gotta hustle to make it. While that's true in certain aspects, I also am realizing the importance of rest. How rest is not the absence of work, but it is something that you should be deliberately focusing on. So also one thing that really helped me out was Adelie prayed for me, but not only that, she reached out to a friend of mine, John, talked to him about what was going on, because I'm kind of like an island. I like to deal with this stuff all by myself, which is not really healthy. So I had a really good conversation with John, and he told me a really good story. He was like, even before the fall of man, God created Eve to be with Adam. We were meant to have community and to have someone else to share with. I hadn't really thought about that. God made us to be relational. He made us to be with other people.
Brain science is actually backs that up as well, that our brains are hardwired for relationships.
So I really appreciate that, John. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate you and Vicky for praying for me and the boys. So thank you so much for that. That was a really cool journey that I went on, but it was really hard and really difficult and super challenging.
So we thought it would be kind of cool to give you a quick room tour. Where are we staying? What does it look like? And how are we settling in? So here's a tour of our room. Most of the stuff that you see in the room we found at the boutique. Basically, it's a store on campus where people drop their stuff off when they're finished of their student term here, and then people who are arriving and needing things go there to pick it up, and it's all free. I found things like blankets, sheets, pillows, plates, utensils. I found a backpack for you. I have found some clothes for the kids.
Lamps.
Some games and toys and puzzles for the kids. Books. Oh, books is something that I've missed so much. So I found so many great kids books at the boutique. So just all sorts of things that are a huge blessing to be able to find and not to have to buy those things, because otherwise it would be very, very expensive. So there are just a few things that I've had to go out and buy from like Walmart or
Target or
Target, yeah. So I did have to go in and buy a few things there, but I found so much at the boutique, making, really a godsend and making this whole thing a lot more affordable.
So Adelie and I are currently going through this thing called the 30-Day Reset. It is a program by
Abigail Wald from Real Time Parenting.
Yeah, it was something that we found out from the Mom Conference, which we've talked about in the past. And I find it so interesting. Like, I just got started in it. It doesn't take very long. It takes about 15 minutes a day, roughly 15 to 20 minutes to go through the videos. And it's one video a day for 30 days. And the first video, which I started last night, was really interesting because it talks about why do the 30-day reset. And it's kind of to just like a reset button basically for your family. So when you are struggling with something in your family or struggling with your relationship with your kids, it's a really great program to go through. And the thing they talked about on the first day is about forgiveness. When you're struggling with your relationship with your kids, it's very important to forgive yourself as a parent. I know that's something that I really struggle with. Like, anytime I look...
Same.
Anytime we look at the relationship with our kids, if it's not going well with them getting along with each other or them getting along with us, which happens a lot, I tend to blame myself. Like, am I a bad parent? What did I do wrong?
Lots of mom guilt, lots of dad guilt. We love our kids so much, and I know so many people experience this. We love our kids so much, and we really want to do a great job being parents, but we're still human and we still mess up all the time. And our kids mess up too, and sometimes we take that also as a sign that we're failing. Or for me anyway, I sometimes do that, and I have to remember they're human too. They make mistakes. Like, we all make mistakes, and we have to allow for that. But that's really hard when you're hurting them, when I feel like I've messed up and I know that I've hurt them. I just feel so much mom guilt over that, or I have. So this program encourages you to forgive yourself wherever wherever you're at, whatever has happened, whatever circumstances you have found yourself in, whatever challenges as a family you've found yourself in. This program, just like we're starting fresh, we're starting new. So start by forgiving yourself, forgive your kids.
Push that reset button, start with a clean slate. Yeah, that's been really good advice for me. I've found that it's been really important for me to forgive myself and forgive the kids, because it's so easy to carry that and then build negative habits around that.
For sure. You just do the best you can and you forget about the rest. And sometimes your best on one particular day isn't your best on another day. And I think that really caught me, because sometimes I hold myself up to maybe my best in a different circumstance. You know, what if you're all feeling sick right now? Maybe your best that day is not the same as your best last week when you were feeling really healthy and really well and everybody was doing really well. Or if you have some very significant challenge in your life, like you're dealing with depression or anxiety, like your best again is not going to be your best on another day, and we just all have different days. So I really liked that. It kind of gave me freedom from just mindset wise of holding myself up to one standard, but just saying, okay, today I'm going to try to do the best that I can today, and I'm going to forget about the rest. And I just keep repeating that in my mind, and that was really, really helpful to think about that. I heard another thing on perfectionism which said, when you fail and you mess up, that process of healing and asking for forgiveness and apologizing and coming together and figuring that out together is part of what bonds families and friends and people together. And so that, looking at it in that way, it's a crucial part for relationship development. Messing up is a good thing.
Yay, we all mess up.
We do.
So thanks much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it and got some stuff out of it. Next week, we are going to share a really cool story about how we rented our house out. Everybody that we've told this story to is just absolutely amazed, because God has worked in such amazing ways with this. So I can't wait to share that story with you.
Check you later.